All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to 51 Insights Power Launch today with Justin Banon, founder of Boson Protocol and Fermion Protocol. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you, Justin. You've been a long-time founder of Boson Protocol. We've been working together for many months and even years. And today we're going to talk all about Boson Protocol, what's next for blockchain and luxury. And then we're also going to touch about our latest and most recent trend, AI, and how does AI affect decentralized commerce and how does Boson play a role in all of that. Everyone who's joining, welcome to the show, wherever you are on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. It's great to have you here. This is a very interactive session. We'll plan to have a Q&A at the end where you can ask questions and we'll give answers. So please chime in, participate in the discussion. It's great to have you here. All right, let's kick it off. Justin, before we dive deep into blockchain and luxury, can you give us a brief overview of who is Boson and what do you do?
Sure. So Boson is the decentralized commerce layer for Web3. So what that means is if you want to buy or sell a physical item over Web3, you can do that with Boson with some very specific properties. So, for example, one of the main benefits of Web3 is that you can exchange things in a way that guarantees fair exchange on both parties. So if I wanted to sell an NFT, we could do that on chain in a way that's what we call atomic. It's like, you'll get paid, I'll get the NFT. And we can kind of guarantee that with smart contracts. But when we try and do that same sort of commercial transactions with real world physical products, we have a kind of problem. And that is, if I tokenize the product and you buy the token, how do you know that you will get, how do you know you'll get the physical item? And Boson Protocol basically solves that problem. And so what that means is you can put Boson in the middle of a transaction where before you would have a website or you might have a platform like Amazon, and it can act as this almost like a little genie that will ensure fair exchange between a buyer and seller, which is a very kind of foundational and powerful thing.
Mm-hmm. And you've been the pioneer in that with Boson Protocol. You've been a thought leader around those topics as well. Boson Protocol was created for any kinds of good that you want to trade through a token. And recently, you also launched the Fermion Protocol. Can you explain us a little bit what was Fermion or is Fermion about, and how does it fit into the overall picture of Boson universe?
Sure. I mean, as you mentioned, I do quite a lot of academic research as well, and I've been doing quite a lot of research with the sort of blockchain economist Professor Jason Potts, and as sort of part of that, or sort of adjacent to that research, we sort of identified. I mean, basically, the way Boson works is if you want to buy, if you want to, do decentralized commerce or buy a physical item using Boson, what will happen is the funds get locked up, and the protocol will issue you with a token, and whoever holds that token has got the right to claim the physical item. And so this is like super efficient because it's just software that manages it. So it's what we call kind of like the transaction is efficient, but it's capital inefficient. So the funds are locked up until both parties are satisfied. But that's okay for commerce because, like with credit card transactions or just normal e-commerce, the kind of the merchants get paid after 2 or 3 weeks anyway. So that's all pretty normal. But when you get to items, that are perhaps worth tens, hundreds, millions of dollars, or tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars, I should say, then this kind of capital inefficiency comes into play is the first thing. And typically for these large ticket size transactions, the parties expect to get paid sort of same day. So that's one thing. The other is, we wouldn't use the e-commerce method of buying something online and getting it sent through the post for exchanging gold bars or Rolexes or houses or commodities. That there is a more robust method, and that method is that you would use a sort of a verifier and a custodian that would where you would deposit the goods, and then they would ensure that the seller gets paid, and therefore you can pay the seller immediately that the goods are deposited. So Fermion is a second protocol that still sits on top of Boson's foundational tokenization layer, but enables this verification for high value items. And then also, that there's another attribute that is useful for high value items, which is fractionalization. So it also enables you to fractionalize, so you could say, it could be like $1 million piece of art, for example, could be on Fermion, could be fractionalized, and then these fractions can be traded. So it extends Boson and the Boson ecosystem to include all physical goods, from the commerce items that Boson is tuned for, through these high value items, real estate, and then onto commodities.
Mm-hmm. I would love to zoom out, and I know that you have a very bold thesis of how all of this is going to play out, and I would love to lay that out a little bit for our listeners so they understand where you're coming from. You also coined the term in a paper that you wrote together with the World Economic Forum, the computable economy. And
Yeah.
I would love to explain that a little bit and then take it back and break it down. What does this mean now today for consumer brands, and why do they want to play in that computable economy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the thesis that Professor Potts and I developed is that if you look at a computer, it's got certain properties, and so computers can store and retrieve data completely what we call deterministically. Every single time it will get the same amount. They can transmit data between themselves, kind of perfectly. And they also then if you run a program on a calculator, 1 + 1 = 2 every single time. And so they're what we call reliable and deterministic. And because the sort of base level is this solid foundation, we can build all this complexity that you see in the digital world on top of it, the whole internet, everything, because the base layer is reliable and deterministic. But if you look at our economy, when we want to send and receive value, well, there's counterparty risk. So sometimes we don't get the money back. If we want to do an agreement, well, we do a paper contract with each other. That's kind of fuzzy. And if you breach the agreement, and I will have to then take you to court, which is slow, which is expensive, and it's fuzzy. I don't know whether I'm going to get my money back. And so what we find is that and so, like, you can run these economic programs on the current economy. You could do a deal with one person, the same deal with another, and get completely different outcomes. So it's what we call fuzzy and indeterminate. And so as a consequence, it's like building on sand. We can't get such a complex structure on top. And the thesis is that if the underlying kind of foundations of the economy are smart contracts and blockchains, then when we transmit sort of value, we do so in this super deterministic way. If you've got a Bitcoin in your wallet, you have it, you own it. It can't be one day you just wake up and, like, what happened with the Cyprus government, they just, taken whatever it was, 40-50% of your savings, or, it eliminates counterparty risk, etc. So the thesis is, if we can get all the world's capital and assets onto this new programmable substrate of blockchains, we will get a far more complex economy built on top of it, which leads, and the complexity of the economy is directly linked to the wealth that we have. But there's one kind of caveat, one condition, that is we have to have all assets on it. You can't have, it's like a computer. If you had to retrieve a certain class of data on a computer and you had to have someone running to a filing cabinet and coming and writing it down, it wouldn't be. And that's what physical assets are like. And so all the technology that I'm building is to bring these physical assets into this new computable economy with the same sort of deterministic and reliable properties. And that's what Boson and Fermion does. And if we can achieve that, then we can bring all the world's sort of assets and capital on chain with these strong commitments, which will lead to a computable economy and exponential wealth increase, and a whole series of benefits for humanity.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Uh, and if you, or if I'm a brand leader now, brand executive thinking about Web3 and computable economy, this makes a lot of sense. If I had to break that down now for my brand and the products that I sell, maybe I already have a couple of activations on Roblox. I know we're in gaming, so we probably have some items, products, clothes in games already. We haven't done anything with blockchain. How does this fit together now, and what does blockchain and Boson, coming from that perspective of a computable economy, what does it enable for me?
Well, I mean, we don't present an argument for brands to use technology like Boson in terms of a computable economy. In the same way that you wouldn't present a brand, with the business case of building a website or using e-commerce as because computers are reliable and deterministic at the base layer. It's what you can do with it. And so the things that you can do with technologies like Boson is they are programmable. And so, whereas previously to have all of the kind of like programmability features and functions that you would have got with, that you can get with this technology, you would have had to have like separate loyalty systems that will go and analyze and see whether people are qualified for this. And you can program all of those rules and configure all of that logic into the kind of commerce and loyalty offerings that you offer customers. So basically, it's like a Lego set for building compelling experiences and building these kind of like loyalty commerce experiences with customers. And so that is really how I think that's the right level of analysis for brands to see it. I know we're going to kind of get onto the whole kind of crypto and AI. So I think, but that's what crypto commerce, decentralized commerce systems give you. They give you a tool set to build these kind of experiences and loyalty commerce that you previously would need all of these different disparate kind of systems. But as I'm sure we're going to get onto, crypto comes with a challenge, right? And Web3, and as we've discussed many times, that challenge is complexity and a complex user experience, which has been a major problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's also where AI comes in, and we will going to talk about this later as well. I just want to roll it up of what happened in the last 4 years. That's also what we saw at 51 Insights. We saw a lot of brands coming into the space, and brands starting to launch tokens, starting to launch products tied to tokens on chain. We see a lot of activity happening in the digital product passport space, particularly in Europe, where luxury brands start to bring or attach products, physical products to tokens, NFTs on chain that contain certain information on products. They have to do that due to regulations coming in 2026. So those are some use cases that we see popping up. And the thesis is that we're going to see a lot more products, physical products tied to on-chain tokens. And that's really, I think, key to understand why we need a protocol like Boson that facilitates the same peer-to-peer exchange that you're used to in crypto on decentralized exchanges. You can exchange cryptocurrency without having a middleman in between, and you can do the same thing now with physical products as well, thanks to Boson.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. What Boson enables is, I mean, there are these challenges with physical assets where, you know, as I mentioned, this physical asset oracle problem where if I tokenize my car, you buy the token, how do you know you're going to get the car? And at small scale, that doesn't appear as a major problem. But once you start scaling this thing massively, the fact that you've got some sort of trust-based system, I mean, it's just ripe for exploitation. So Boson gives you those same kind of guarantees that either you get the item or your money back, that you would get, for example, if we were doing an NFT exchange. And it does it not just for physical items, it can be for like digital items, like an off-chain digital items. And it can in fact bundle on-chain, off-chain digital items and physical items, all with that same sort of guarantee, whilst, you know, out of the box giving brands this ability to kind of program these, whether it's with things like token gating, whether it's bundling experiences, all of those kind of really cool things that they want to do. It enables that. And so I think what we've seen over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, I mean, one of the areas that I studied and sort of did quite a bit of research on is the history of innovation. And it gives quite an interesting perspective in that it's normal when technology gets adopted, it kind of gets adopted, it gets overhyped, it can't meet those expectations, you get a crash. The initial adoption is often very superficial. Like, for example, the first travel agent websites were a picture with a, you know, typically an umbrella, a deck chair, and if you would like to, you know, book some travel, phone this number and come in, book an appointment and come in and see us in the high street. I mean, fast forward sort of 10, 20 years, there are no high street travel agents, right? And like in between that, they had their own websites. Okay. And so, you know, it's normal to see this kind of superficial adoption and then, you know, kind of a crash. But what we've done is laid down the infrastructure. And we've also, you know, the other thing is this next generation that's now becoming the kind of, you know, Gen Z and Gen Alpha that now are kind of becoming the sort of dominant discretionary buyers and increasingly, you know, the key target group for fashion and luxury. They have completely different expectations, like the kind of web generation did. They have completely different expectations for the sophistication of the products, for the fact that these products should, you know, have digital representations, that they should be, you know, involving crypto and sort of value transfer. So, you know, I think this next wave now, as we're at the kind of, you know, beginning of a bull market, what we're seeing is this Gen Z, Gen Alpha kind of once again getting lots of crypto in their wallets. And this just becomes a market that fashion and luxury can't ignore, particularly with the, you know, the last year or so of kind of plateaued growth in those areas.
Yeah, and the space is also moving extremely fast. A couple of months ago, we started to see a wave of AI innovations coming into crypto. The first protocols already launched a year or more, but now it really caught the I would say mainstream attention. With mainstream, I mean the broader crypto community. And I would love to untangle this a bit from your perspective, Justin.
Yeah.
I know that you looked into this a lot and you thought about how does this now change the value proposition also for Boson and Fermion. And I would love to hear from your perspective, what is your take? What is your perspective on everything that's happening with AI at the moment in relation to crypto?
Yeah, sure. So, well, look, there are lots of touch points between AI and crypto. The one that is, I think, the hottest trend in technology right now, I mean, I've really not seen anything, is this whole crypto meets AI agents. And so I think, if we sort of define an AI agent as a piece of software, AI software that has agency, right? By agency, we mean it has the ability to act. It can have the ability to act autonomously. It will have goals. It will have a sort of an action space where it can operate, and it will learn and improve and work and develop strategies towards those goals. And so, examples of these sort of, well, a non-agentic AI could be, for example, like a weather AI, which could ingest data about the weather and predict the weather, or give you certain recommendations on what you should wear, or etc. It doesn't have any agency. It's merely sort of informational. But an agentic AI might be something that you say, oh, I'm going, can you book me a holiday for Easter, please? And I'd like to go somewhere hot with sandy beaches, etc., not too far. And it will, have learned a lot of your sort of requirements, what you like, your price points, etc. It will be able to access your diaries and the diaries of your partners and family and all of that. But then it will have agency. It'll have a wallet, and it will be able to go and, maybe surface a couple of recommendations first, but then it will be able to go and execute and negotiate that, and sort of, flights, hotels, linking those up, car hired, and do all of those things. And so these are kind of, this is what we call AI agents. And the thesis is that these AI agents, and, largely, kind of align with the kind of Outlier Ventures and Jamie Burke's thesis of a post web. And, I'm one of the partners at OV. They invested in Boson and Fermion, and we worked pretty closely with Jamie on this, and I'm very aligned with it. But basically, these AI agents will be the next iteration of the web. Won't be Web 4. It will be the post web, because we won't need to tap on a keyboard and look into a screen. We will be speaking to these like agents that using natural language, and that will be the natural interface, whether that's Siri or others, and that we will then have these specialist AI agents. So if perhaps if you're feeling ill or whatever, there'll be a medical one that your home agent will contact. And if you want to do commerce, there will be commerce agents. So that's the kind of concept of an AI agent. Now, our thesis is that there's a challenge with those AI agents, which is they have a problem with going and trusting humans or platforms, etc., to go and execute transactions. I mean, what machines like is, going back to this notion of reliability and determinism, right? They need reliable, deterministic, kind of ways of executing these transactions. For them to go and make the sort of judgment that we make, before you put your credit card into a website, you're actually saying, does this website look dodgy, or do you think I can trust it, right? And the same with humans, right? What AI needs is this trusted or verified execution, that if they decide to make a transaction on your behalf, that they've got guarantees that either the transaction goes through, or they get their money back, which is exactly the guarantee that Boson, and for higher value things, Fermion provides. So that's the first thing, that the kind of weakness of that model of delegating financial transactions to an AI is having verified execution, right, and safe execution, and that's what Boson and Fermion provide. But then, crypto has this major problem, which is also all part of this kind of post-web sort of thesis, which is that the user experience for crypto is the biggest stumbling block to using it. It's crypto is so powerful that, and it involves money. It's complex. It's complex. It gives the user massive power over their own money, but that's not a good thing. I mean, personally make sure, as only on very rare occasions I'm kind of accessing keys with lots of, with lots of money, I tend to make sure that my power is restricted so I can't hit the wrong button and delete lots of money. So they the challenge with crypto is complex user experience, lots of power, and a huge impact if things go wrong. And so that's what's really been the barrier. I mean, you speak to many brands, as do I. It's always the barrier to adoption is, okay, how can we make this user, the intrinsic challenges of crypto. And of course we can abstract that away, and there's lots of work being done to do that. But you're sort of trying your hardest to get the user experience to be as close to a web user experience as possible, and you never really quite get there. I mean, even though you put lots of effort in. And so AI comes along and just makes it completely natural language and is perfectly competent at handling all of that complexity. So there's this real kind of like synergy between the two. One needs this verified trusted execution. AI needs that. And crypto needs an overlay that just makes using crypto very easy for humans. And so that's that kind of complementary nature of the two technologies that I think is driving this massive kind of adoption wave.
Mm-hmm. And what does this mean now for Boson? Can you give us a sneak peek of like the specific products that you are working on right now that are usable for brands?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, well, the first thing to say is that this is, when we say that this isn't another web iteration of the web, I mean, brands have gone from Web 1 to Web 2 and to Web 3. This is like going from pre-web to web. So the question now for brands is the same as when we asked at the beginning of the internet, do I need a website, right? The question is, do I need an agentic strategy? Because, the vast majority of transactions are going to be happening through agents that work for us. And so the products that we are building with Boson, as part of what we're calling Boson version 3, are so firstly, Boson commerce agents that you can just pick up and use. So, Mark, if you've got your home agent, Siri, whatever, you can just say, okay, I want you to use this Boson commerce agent. It's, complete trusted agent that will go and execute, whatever it can search, it can discover, it can find, and then you've got this trusted execution. And that's a kind of, a complete commerce agent. But then there are going to be many people developing their own agents. And so there are also two flavors of agent, of kind of components that developers can use. So we've got modules, which are generally quite large kind of groupings of functionality that people can sort of, so for example, if you're just creating an agent, you can just drop this kind of Boson commerce execution module in there that will just enable it to buy and sell things, right? Or one for buying and one for selling. And so those are kind of modules. And then there is a lower level, which is the Boson kind of commerce agent components, which is for developers that just want more granular, kind of functionality that they can weave into their own kind of commerce development. And we will be deploying this technology on a lot of the major agent platforms in terms of sort of Eliza, Virtuals, and various others.
Yeah. And what I find fascinating about that topic is that it develops at light speed. So if you compare that to the web revolution in the 2000s, it felt like companies had 10 years to go online, and now it feels like everything is happening at exponential speeds, and the whole like a lot of things will change in the next 2 to 3 years, and people and brands and companies need to start thinking about this now. And you said it very well before. I think we're gonna see an agent economy where a lot of what we do in the internet today will happen through agents. And eventually, brands will have to think about the same way they did 30 years ago. Do we need a website? Do we need an agent or multiple agents, an army, a swarm of agents that does things for us, that interacts with our clients, that interacts on social media, that builds our profile, manages our brand, and yeah, so it's happening at light speed, and you need to think about it today.
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely. It's a fact that, you know, one of the things I kind of previously studied was these, you know, technology happens in S curves. We know that it starts slow, you know, exponentially explodes, and then it tapers off. But the gradient of those S curves is getting steeper and steeper and steeper.
Mhm.
And that's partly due to the fact that we are becoming this technologically advanced civilization that just everybody knows technology is the thing. You get, you know, it's harder and harder to get advantage. You've got to move quicker and quicker. But also the, you know, brands and the kind of consumers of technology now realize, I mean, there are a lot of, when I had a fireside with Tommy Hilfiger during the whole kind of metaverse boom, he was talking about how, you know, when the web arrived, a lot of brands got left behind and never recovered. And so then when Web 2 happened and social, there were fewer people, people were wiser to it. And he's saying, you know, with these new technology, when it comes along now, most brands know that it is a new dimension of competition. They can't afford to get left behind. They may never sort of catch up. And so, you know, with the rapidity of both development and adoption is much steeper. So, I mean, to give you an example of some of the sort of projects that we are working on, and we've gone from, I mean, you know, the bear market with quite low demand, low adoption, but you know, when the previous sort of bull market had been here, we were on a prototype. So we've just spent that time managing to build out all of the base, you know, all of the Boson technology infrastructure and Fermion. So it's a great position to be in now going into a bull market rather than, you know, half-baked technology, fully baked technology. Well, the sort of things we're building is, you know, for one huge kind of global luxury client, we're building out the ability to tokenize, fractionalize these very high value assets. We're building on Fermion, which with Boson as the sort of base layer, a whole resale market where items of high end jewelry that are out in the market will get, you know, you can use Fermion for them to verify that this is authentic jewelry and what the condition is, and then resell and have a piece of that resale market, and onto then some kind of you know, even sort of industry wide tokenization initiatives that we're doing. So, you know yourself, when you're in technology, it's, you know, it's sort of peaks and troughs, but the spike is like near vertical. So I mean, it's a great time to be in tech again.
Yeah, definitely, and it feels like, I mean, in crypto has its cycles anyway, and it feels like it will have another cycle soon. At least it's preparing for that, and now AI came into that and converges, and it just feels like, you know, this is now a super fusion of two technologies coming together, and so much opportunity out there as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I
um,
mean, absolutely. I think that, you know, as Jamie Burt put it in his post web, that crypto is a back end technology. And now you've got this AI, which is just this perfect front end technology because it talks to you in natural language, and the two need each other. And I think this is what unlocks just, you know, kind of, it's so much more powerful than the paradigm of, and like one of the primary problems that we have with the current paradigm is lots of these trust problems are mediated by things like platforms. Because, you know, if I'm doing business with someone I don't trust, well, let's do it via a platform. We both trust the platform, so no one kind of gets, you know, kind of screwed. But the platform is in such a position of power, and the platform has its own interests at heart. It just takes more and more and more. So if we replace that platform with an agent that works for me, and you've got an agent that works for you, we don't have these kind of what we call principal agent problems, right? We don't have these agents work for us, doing the same job as platforms discover, and all of those things.
Exactly, and fully agree. I would like to open it up to our audience. And again, you can ask questions. We already have a couple of questions in here. The first one from Adam Crowell. I'm going to show it on screen here. He talks about RWAs. Imagine this, an AI agent powered by a piece of art. For instance, you could take a painting, fractionalize its ownership via a crypto token, and use the token to power an AI agent designed to analyze and comment on the art world. So people can trade and interact with an AI agent that is backed and powered by an RWA? Question mark.
I need to be really careful what I say, because every time I come on, especially with people I know well, like you, marketing say, do not go blurting any of the stuff we have under embargo. But what I'm not going to, I can't comment directly. But what you've just described is something that we are actively working on. It's a great idea. And we've got the technology fractionalizing, high value assets, and then using those as kind of like a meme coin commerce agent to reward people for certain actions within a certain sphere. Is like, the confluence of real world assets, meme coins, agents, crypto. So it's one of the super cool projects that we're working on. I can't say much more than that. But great idea. Great minds think alike.
Then we have another question from Mathieu. Have you thought about or analyzed how to protect the seller so that the buyer, when returning the product, cannot exchange it for another product? For example, if I sell original shoes, the buyer exchanges them for fakes and at the end returns the goods, but with these fakes.
Well, yeah, I mean, the cases like these are what Fermion is designed to cater for. So with Fermion, we have this additional verification stage. So I mentioned that we're working with this kind of global jewelry brand that will verify their jewelry for resale. Likewise, we can use this verification mechanism to have the shoes verified by an agreed verifier who will rule oversee the transaction. So yeah, absolutely, that's this additional verification layer.
And then I have a question, Justin. What do you say to a brand leader that may have just started in Web3, heard about blockchain, heard about Web3 technologies, heard about AI agents? Where should they start? What would be the best first step?
I mean, that is a difficult question. I mean, it's the sort of thing we've discussed. The range of client types is enormous. So, we've got some clients who you might meet them and really not expect them for them to be fully up to speed, and also really wanting to be digital leaders, and just, and these people like amaze me. And then the answer to that question is they want the absolute cutting edge right now, and they're pulling the product out of you. I mean, they're great. But and then they're the ones sort of in the middle where, perhaps we're going to just do something, and that's going to be kind of like something that someone else has done, but with a twist. But I think if you're right at the beginning, then it's a good time to experiment and to kind of like build the muscle. I think it's another Tommy Hilfiger phrase about building that kind of muscle, and just there's only one way to develop the ability to compete in this arena, and that is start. You can start small, but start early, because things are moving so fast. It's one of those races that you do not want to give your competitors a head start. And so, we work very closely with lots of brands, giving them that sort of consultancy, working with partners like you, Marc, that, help decipher and sort of unpack and at the right pace for them, give them solutions and strategies that can give them competitive advantage, but also help them along that path to developing that capability that they're going to need to compete in a very different world.
Mhm. Is there a sneak peek that you can give us for what's coming in 2025 for Boson, Fermion, or what are you most excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually just published a master plan part 5 with the whole roadmap on Boson, so people can find that on our website, on our Twitter account. There's a video version of that. But as I said, for Boson, apart from going multi-chain, etc., it's building out all of this infrastructure for decentralized AI commerce and becoming the base layer for that. We've also got Fermion Protocol going to mainnet in Q1, which is going to be huge. We've got a number of these major partnerships that are using the tech, Boson, Fermion, the new AI technology. And then, as I have sort of partially blurted with was it Adam Kroll's question, we're also doing some super cool things that are just going to demonstrate this technology. For example, we've got a big partnership with WooCommerce for Boson. We're going to be doing some really cool sort of lab projects with them. And there's a lot of very innovative kind of partners that just want to run experiments and use the technology and also make it cool. I mean, I think the great thing about this sort of AI agent space is some of the stuff that's being created is very sort of cool and sort of pushing boundaries and having fun. And certainly our product and dev and marketing people are really excited to kind of continue in that vein. So yeah, I mean, there's just heaps of stuff we're doing. And so we're looking forward to sharing a bit more when we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, Justin, what are you personally most excited about in 2025 across the whole space, or something you look at and you find super interesting?
I think this confluence between AI agents and crypto is the thing that is just going to unlock this entirely new paradigm. And I think we've just already just seeing how it's just red hot in terms of adoption. I mean, like this, one of the frameworks for AI agents, the ELIZA framework, is like the #1 GitHub repository in the world, and it's a small open source project, So it's more usage than like Microsoft or something. It's crazy. So I think AI agents meeting crypto is the thing that it has really got a lot of people's interest, and all of this coming into a bull run. I mean, I know we've got a little pause at the moment, but we're kind of pausing just below Bitcoin at 100K. And this is just the kind of beginning of it. So it's a great time to be in tech again. And for those of us that have endured the bear market, this is the kind of the reward we get is being able to build great things, do great things in a kind of bustling market.
Absolutely agree, Justin. And I wish you and the whole Boson team all the best for 2025 to execute on that roadmap. Everyone who joined, thank you for coming. You can interact with us on Twitter. You can talk to us on all the channels that you're participating in. Justin, where can people find out more about you, about Boson?
About me, there's justinbanon.com, Boson, bosonprotocol.io, and Fermion, fermionprotocol.io, and also the Twitter, X accounts for all of those, Telegram channels as well.
Cool. Thanks. You see the QR code on the left, top left, bosonprotocol.io. Justin, thanks a lot for joining. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks everyone else for tuning in. All the best and talk soon.
Thanks, Marc.